Hey Husker fans, I'm Jessica Cootie, and this is One-on-One with the new safeties coach, Tyler Yelk. Well, Coach, welcome to Lincoln. How has it gone settling in? I know you're already on the field with some practices under your belt. How has it gone so far?
I don't know if there's any settling in. It's just been right at it. I mean, we had an install meeting 36 hours after landing, which has been fun. I mean, what spring ball and that fall camp type vibe, like just get into it. It's all ball. My wife's a saint. She's doing all the other details with the move, and we're just fully focused on football right now.
So you've been in the NFL, been obviously familiar with Coach Orich, but when you get the call, why was this the right move to come back to college and work with Coach Orich again?
Yeah, I mean, for the role that we had in my experience in the NFL, learned a ton, made some great connections, worked with some great people, but the opportunity to be part of building something and having a little bit more control and running a room. You know, I had a variety of roles while with the Eagles, but coaching DBs has always kind of been my passion. It's what I played. And so an opportunity to build something here with Coach Rule and Coach Orich's defense and be part of Coach Addison Williams with the secondary was opportunity way too good to pass up, especially, you're talking the Big Ten, Nebraska.
With the familiarity with Coach Orich and what he likes to install, what is it about his defense that is successful and that you feel like will work here at Nebraska?
Well, just the simplicity of it and playing fast and the violent piece of it. The multiplicity of it that's post-snap and just how we can part whole, teach some fundamentals that we can apply in a variety of different ways and getting guys to comprehend those, execute those at an elite level, and hopefully go see that success on game day.
And when you talk coaching safeties, what are some of the principles that you want to instill in your guys in your room that translates to the field and elite safety play?
Number one is the command. To me, the playing safety in any defense really, but especially this one, you need to quarterback that between you and that Mike linebacker and at times that Will, that inner triangle I talk about with our guys. Like, you guys have to be on the same page and get everybody else calmed down and playing fast. That's your number one role. And then seeing the game and understanding it. I think to be an elite safety, there's a level of anticipation that comes from understanding not only what we're doing defensively, but what the offense is trying to do to us. So there's a big learning curve to that. It's not just I line up here, this is my check, and this is where my eyes are. I take a lot of pride in trying to get our guys to that next level of understanding the game so then they can play fast. I think that's a little bit of a misnomer in our profession sometimes. I think, some guys will say, keep it simple so they can play fast. And I'm like, I want to keep it complex off the field and before the snap so they can play really fast after the snap.
What about just the room and getting to know those guys? How has that process gone, and what do you like about some of the guys in that room?
Oh, we got a great room. It's been fun so far. Our first meeting, I didn't talk a lot of ball with them. I just kind of shared my story a little bit, and we just chopped it up for a while. I think it's important that they have a chance to get to know me. Even though, we had a practice coming up at the end of the week, I still, invested, I don't know what it was, 30, 45 minutes of just chopping it up. Because I said, I got off the plane. We were in here on Sunday with Coach Orich, getting caught up because it's been 3 years since I've been with him. So, we were filling in all the gaps there schematically and making sure I was at where he needed me to be to install that first meeting. But the group was hungry. I mean, I was really impressed that first meeting. I mean, there was no, hey, put your phone away or make sure you have a pencil. Like, all those things were checked off. So, I mean, that to me spoke to the culture that's already been here with the University of Nebraska, with what Coach Rule does. And even to our first walkthrough, those guys' pad level, attention to detail was awesome. So, I mean, we've hit the ground running, and they've been really eager to learn.
So when you install Coach Orich's defense here in the spring, and specifically what you want to do with the safeties, what's most important here over these next few weeks throughout these spring practices that you want to make sure, hey, we've got to get done in my room, in the safety room? Mastering
the fundamentals. I mean, it seems like coach speak. A lot of people would say that, but I mean, when you boil it down, we just came out of a staff meeting just looking at film of fundamentals. It wasn't, hey, let's put the calls aside. Let's make sure our footwork, all those technical and tactical things are done at an elite level. And then we can build from there. If we build too fast with the scheme piece, all those other things go by the wayside, and that's what wins and loses football games.
Some of those characteristics you talk about that you look for in safeties, is that something that can be developed, or do you identify that throughout the recruiting process?
Oh, how much time do we have here? That's a great question. And I would answer it this way, like you look at a Madden player and you make a player, you can make his speed this, height this. There's a lot of different variables and a lot of different ways to have success in all positions. There are some baseline physical attributes that we want. I really value the instinctual player because I think it's hard to move the needle that way. So every category, kind of to more directly to your question, can be improved. And that's, our job as coaches is to find a way for every player, from the guy that ranks last in the room from getting on the field to the elite level starter, move the needle for everybody. But each category, I think, can be moved at different degrees.
And what's the benefits, too, of kind of breaking up the defensive backs and having Coach Williams coach the corners and you kind of being able to really get your hands on with the safeties?
Yeah, I mean, at Minnesota Duluth, where I played and where I started, we had a small staff. I had the whole room of DBs. Coach Addison did a great job with that whole room. I just think when you break it up, because they are different, I mean, there's a difference between the safeties and nickels, even though all three are in my room with that. Coach Addison with the corners, you can just get into more detail. I right now in spring and the limited hours that we have with them, I feel like I want more meeting time, and I'm not even talking to the corners. So it just allows you an opportunity to go so much further in depth with your teaching.
Your love of ball and the cerebral part of it, where does that come from? Has that always been something that you've loved, that part of the game?
Yeah. I mean, where does it come from? It probably comes from being a middle child, and you just had to be quiet and observe. And then, my mentors at Minnesota Duluth, John Steger was the defensive coordinator that recruited me and coached me, and we had a fairly complex defense. And by the time we were seniors, there was a lot of calls that were put on the safeties that we took a lot of pride in the prep that he did, getting us ready to go, and then us going out and executing it. So it was just that kind of style of play, I guess, probably is where that spark started. And then, like most kids, when they graduate college, not sure where they want to go, and he put his arm around me and said, "You thought about coaching?" And then it kind of took off from there.
So I was going to ask you that, because I always like to ask that when we get new coaches, like, where did it start? Hey, I want to be a coach. I want to coach college. And, just that path for you.
We grew up on a dairy farm, but we were a sports family. I have an older and younger brother, and my eldest sister was a collegiate athlete as well. So we were always competitive watching sports. I mean, the athletics was always there. Really studied exercise science and thought I was going to train athletes. And it wasn't probably till John Steger, said, "Hey, have you thought about this?" I did. I guess, my dad wasn't a coach. That's kind of a neat story sometimes of his dad was a coach, and it's in the family. I don't know that I'd say it's in our family that way. And so, I guess I kind of stumbled into it a little bit. I like the fact that a byproduct of what we do, you get to impact a lot of guys' lives, but I wouldn't say that's why I got into it. I love the game. I loved being around it. I love the scheme. And I love we talk to our girls about it too. Our profession, there are 10s and 1s, and you don't get that in a lot of other professions. So I guess, that's part of it too, of being involved in the highs and lows and the thrills, that it's hard to find that outside of sports.
You've won everywhere. You won as a player, you won as a coach, you won as Super Bowl. What are some of the similarities, I guess, of those teams that have had success, those winning teams have in common?
It is the connection and the brotherhood of it. I mean, that has always been a commonality of those teams. And Coach Sirianni, I think he did a really neat thing one time, and he did a montage where I don't know if he went back 10 years or so, and like whether it was the World Series, the Stanley Cup, the NBA Finals, and just pulled bits and pieces from the championship pressers and press conferences and the cameras in those guys' face when they're holding the trophies and what the things are. And every one of them, you're always going to hear guys talk about the connection of a team, the brotherhood. Like, that is always there. Obviously, talent is there. You have to execute at an elite level, and in football, it's that brotherhood and being the more physical, dominant football team. I mean, it's pretty simple that way. And yeah, so I've been blessed. I don't know as you spoke to the resume that it was because of me. I've been fortunate to be part of, and this is the greatest team game on the planet, been part of some really unique staffs and cultures and locker rooms that way.
Your experience in the NFL, how beneficial is it? What are some of the things that you could take away now as you come back to college, where it's every guy that steps on this field, that's their dream, right? To make it to that level. How do you feel like you can maybe help get those guys to where they want to be?
Yeah, pull the curtain back on it. I think, a lot of times in growing up, you just put the NFL emblem on this pedestal, which is, it's where it belongs. But when you get behind it, you realize that, hey, the football is the football, that culture, that brotherhood, the physicality of the game, all those things are the same from Pee Wee on through, from when Lombardi was coaching it till now. There's certain tenets of the game that just don't change. So getting guys to understand that, of like, hey, what Coach Rule is talking about in here, these details, these things matter. How you organize your notes here is going to prevent you from getting cut at the next level. The special teams is critically important to us winning games and you getting to a 10-year career. Like all those things that, instead of it being coach speak, it's like, guys, I've seen that and lived that. So maybe just offers a little bit more credibility that way, that they're hearing it directly from the source. And then, for 3 years, you got to be nothing but ball. There wasn't the recruiting piece of it. So, I feel blessed to have the opportunity to work directly alongside, the assistant GM, Coach Sirianni, with some of the game management, some of the situational football things that helped me grow a lot as a coach. And find ways to bring that when the time is right to our guys.
Okay, so if you pull up the University of Minnesota Duluth football program records, your name is at the top of the career tackles list. And number 2 is a Robbie Orich. Do you let him know, Coach Orich, that he is number 2 behind you?
It's funny, and there was no disrespect in this. I didn't know he was number 2. We were actually just talking about this as a staff. You shared the story with somebody, and I think he said he was like 12 behind. And I used it as an opportunity to be like, well, if you probably weren't loafing on a couple plays and hustling more, you'd have that number 1 spot. And that's why effort matters. But no, I didn't even realize that. But he was, and he always talks about our scheme as a selfless teammate. He spilt, if he's 12 behind, if that's what the number is, he probably spilt the ball to me and let me run the alley and tackle it a minimum of 50 times. So that's just the way good team defense works. And we both have championship rings to show for it.
But how about, again, you have 2 guys that are on the top of program record books for tackles. Obviously, you guys can tackle. What goes into that when you're trying to implement that in guys that you want to be able to tackle well in a defense now? What goes into, again, creating really good tacklers in a defense?
Yeah, another question that we could be here the rest of the day talking about. But to me, a lot of it's 2 things. One, the willingness to do it. And we have to do a good job in the athletes that we evaluate, that they are willing tacklers, that they have that aggression that they can bring onto the field, because when it comes down to it, it's just 2 people and one of them's got to get them on the grass. So it's kind of that wrestler grit that we're looking for in our athletes. And then 2, because we have to protect our athletes and you can't go live every practice, I believe in really teaching the angles and how you approach the football. So that's kind of my philosophy, is I'm going to really spend a lot of time on how I get you there. And then we'll teach you how to safely do it, but you have to be the one that get them on the grass.
What else do Husker fans need to know about you?
Oh, I'm a family man. This is a tough stretch, being away from the wife and my 2 kiddos. But the support here has been awesome, and we can't wait to get them here. They've already been rocking their red T-shirts. They got the chants down. They've been studying the school song. So, appreciate everybody welcoming them into the community with open arms when they get here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time. And again, welcome to Lincoln.
Thank you.